Where the time go? Wake up video, where the time, baby. Whoa, no warning. What's up, bro?
What's good, bro? How you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. I was just jamming out to your song while we were waiting. What's going on, man? How are you?
I appreciate it.
For sure,
bro. I'm good, man. I'm chilling, bro.
How's Las Vegas?
Yo, the setup's looking nice behind you.
Dude, thank you, bro. It's
Las Vegas,
all officially set up. You know what I'm saying?
Dude. So this is the new table you built, right?
I did. I built it. I mean, if you want to count it as me building it, like, you see how it's nice, like, dude. A different, like, this is kind of a different color than, like, the leg?
Right.
It's because I pretty much bought a table on OfferUp and then put, like, a counter that I made over it. And then just, like, glued it over it. I literally glued it.
Word, I got you. It looks good, though.
It works. It's big. You know what I mean? I got hella space.
Yeah. Dude, that's what's up. That's super clutch.
Yeah, bro. But your setup's fucking not too shabby yourself either, so I had to level up because before with those Rocket 5s, it just wasn't. It wasn't working.
I feel you, bro.
How you doing? How's the quarantine? How are you doing with the quarantine situation?
Dude, it's good, man. It's been long, you know.
Yeah, another
getting longer.
Did you see that?
Yeah, kind of crazy. It's been weird. Like it's felt long, but it's kind of flown by in some ways.
It's
like it's just weird to think like
it's definitely better to be a producer in this time, no doubt.
For sure.
Because like I'm just here all day. Even when I have to work, I'm here. So it's like I'm literally I don't leave. So have you been like working on a bunch of projects aside from the song that you work out? You got anything else in store that you've been working on?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've got more songs I'm working on. Stuff I've been like meaning to finish, like that. I like, you know, just you know how that is.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just kind of, you know, the freelance stuff. Right. Yeah. And then, you know, the freelance stuff has honestly kept me busy, which has been
for sure. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you most about, if we could, because like the title of this podcast, I know we didn't really have a chance to talk before this, but I'm titling this is the Figuring Shit Out Producer Podcast. Because, you know, there's a bunch of podcasts out there where they're interviewing guys that have, like, you know, already got major placements or already signed things like that. But there's not really, I mean, and people want to watch that. So obviously those are the ones that are going to pop off. But there's knowledge in, like, your situation. You know what I'm saying? Because you haven't signed a record deal or whatever, yet you're turning music into something that's turned into a full-time job.
Word. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about how you got there and like how you go about doing that mostly and that was like the big thing that I wanted to dispel in this podcast, or like the theme is that like, it's not black or white with music. It's not like you make it or you don't make it. It's not like you know, become a multimillionaire or you fail miserably. Like you can have a career in music, especially in 2020. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So So I'm just and there's a lot of people that you and I know who are doing this, you know what I'm saying? Who are using music either as a part-time thing or a full-time thing to, you know, either pursue it full-time and ultimately turn it into a full-time thing, or they're just figuring it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's knowledge in everybody's situation. But before we get to like that, I want to talk a little bit more about like your situation, how you got into music. Do you mind telling me like a little bit about like what you started as a singer or a piano player, or how'd you get going?
Word, yeah. So, I mean, you know, coming up, you know, I was doing music stuff, singing in church, you know, piano lessons after school type of thing. And then my main instrument for a while was actually violin. Like I started playing violin in fourth grade.
What?
Yeah, dude.
It
was it was like my main thing. Like
that's awesome.
Through like middle school, high school, yeah. And then really it was towards the maybe like the second half of high school where I really started singing more, got more into that type of thing, like started learning how to record, stuff like that.
Right.
And then like when I went to college, like, you know, I had to kind of choose like your focus instrument, whatever, for like the music major. Like you had to choose your main instrument. Mm-hmm. And that's really where I kind of switched from violin to voice and like chose to like do voice.
So you were still playing violin. You were still playing violin in throughout high school.
Yeah.
Do you still have you played it all recently? Like, have you picked one up?
It's been a while. I played a couple of times in college, just like really a couple. For like this one ensemble, I played in there. I played for this one video with Brooke for like one of her covers.
Oh, is that right?
Those covers on YouTube. Yeah,
I didn't see that.
But,
I need to see that. I feel like you would shred.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good times. Now it's like I'm still out of practice. You know what I'm saying? It's been a minute since I really played.
For sure.
But yeah, like that's kind of what I was doing, and then that's kind of how I kind of ended up doing the whole like music production program.
And when you started singing, it was mostly in. You said you started off in church, but how did that like? What did you branch off first from that? Like, what types of genres were you singing? Like, did you do like plays and stuff in school, or was it mostly like R&B shit, or like what were you? Off of church, what was it?
Yeah, honestly, it was like alternative pop. It was like I'll be singing like Maroon 5 and like
Maroon 5's
like
shit.
All American Rejects.
Yeah,
and like bro, like
I mean the boy band era.
Yeah, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I think one of the first I started doing covers on YouTube in like high school. I think one of the first ones I did was like Death Cab for Cutie. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like super like, and then and that was cool. And then it really just progressed into just pretty much just like pop stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much just like pop stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how I kind of got into singing. Then I started getting some covers. And then from there, I started getting to like recording those covers. And that's kind of how the whole production thing kind of grew.
For sure.
It's like, how can I make this recording? And then like from there, eventually I would start making recordings that weren't covers,
Right.
Yeah.
And so did you go, because you and I went to college together, for everybody, we went to Elon University. Did you go to Elon specifically for the music production program? You knew going in that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, that was like their original plan. Yeah.
Because I know it grew a lot over the time that we were there.
Yeah.
It's
really
legit
did.
now, but I don't remember exactly how it was because you and I are what? You're a year younger than me or 2 years younger than me?
I think 2. I was 2018.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, it really grew over the 4 years I was there. And they had that legit studio. I think I was a senior by the time they had that legit studio. So you got like a solid 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And even after that, like right when I left was when they got like this big donation and like redid those studios and got all this new gear. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely growing the whole time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a good department. And that's how we met, was in acapella. So,
Yeah, I see the sweater. I see the
bro.
I see the hoodie there.
I had to rep Ripcord. But that's that's how Clanton and I actually met each other, was in acapella. So that was like a little bit of your production, your background a little bit. You moved out to LA right after you graduated from Elon, right?
Yeah, like I graduated in May and then I moved in like the end of August.
For sure. And can you tell me a little bit about what that transition was like? You come out here with a gig. Do you already have a roommate situation? Like what was that move situation like for you? Coming from where you're out of Maryland, right?
Yeah, out of Maryland, yeah. So, same as like similar to you, I think we both did the Elon and LA program. So like our school has this program. The school's in North Carolina. School has a program where you like go to LA for the summer or like a semester. And you like get an internship. And then you take like a class or two while you're there. So I had done that 2017 and like loved the whole vibe of just like being in LA. And so I basically was like, I knew after that, like I was like, I definitely am trying to come back. Like definitely trying to come back, move back out.
Same thing with me, bro. Once I was out here for that summer, it was like, I didn't even entertain going anywhere else. I went the same, I think I went junior into senior year, just like you did. I was just 2 years earlier. And it's just a whole nother vibe out here. It's like a whole nother country.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it really feels, especially all the way from the East Coast, it's just completely different.
Yeah, no doubt. Very different.
Yeah.
So you knew after Elon in LA, you were trying to come out here. And then so that was your plan. So when you were a senior, like, did you go about like trying to find a job? Because I didn't have a job when I moved out here. I just said, fuck it, and just sent it.
Right. Yeah. So when I was here, the internship I was doing, oh man, I forgot too. Okay, technically, I first came here in 2016. I came here interned in 2016, and then the following year I worked at the same company that summer, and then the following year is when I graduated. So yeah, so I basically knew after that second summer that I was like working at that company that I had that job.
Wait, I'm sorry. Run that back for me one more time. So you came out to LA. You came out to LA for 2 summers?
Yeah, for 2 summers. I forgot.
So aside from the Elon and LA one, when did you come here? What summer was that for you?
So I did Elon LA 2016. And the summer after that, I came back. And I actually stayed like in the Elon and LA like housing, but I wasn't taking the classes.
You had already graduated, right?
No, not yet. So that was my. I came the first time the summer after my sophomore year, and the second time the summer after my junior year.
I had the timeline fucked up. My bad.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So I did that, and then I basically after that second time I was here, I like basically had secured a job for when I came back after I graduated.
Okay.
So when I came back in 2022, I had a job. I convinced the roommates that I actually had out here through the program to come live with me. So I had people I knew. Who would all
and what was that gig? Do you mind telling us a little more about what that gig was?
Yes, that gig was working for this vocal coach. And basically like he's a vocal coach, but he also has like a studio, and he has he does a lot, so it's kind of hard to condense, but he basically like...
Can you say his name or not?
Yeah. So his name's Nick Cooper.
Yeah.
The company's the Vocal Corner Store. And so he basically like has a whole like network of like creators he works with. He helps people.
And he's an Elon alum, so that's how
he's Elon alum
connection. So
so I basically was helping him out, like working like as an engineer in the studios when I was doing those 2 summers. And then so I came back out 2018, and I was working with him. Or like everything's over the air now when it's in the pandemic, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But basically I was working with there. But as that same summer of 2018, right before I came here, is when I started doing like freelance work.
Okay.
When I first really started doing that, like exploring that. And that's just grown since then to becoming like the main source of like work for me now. It's been cool because now we're in this pandemic, I'm home all the time, but I'm still able to like work and like.
There's still a demand for that. Creators are home now too, so it's like they're stuck doing shit. So So what made you? So you started off on what, Fiverr?
Yeah, Fiverr. Yeah.
Okay, so what gave you the idea to do that, and what was your strategy going into that? Like, what were you posting? What were you offering? What was it about your skill set that made, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did you? How did you execute that shit? Yeah.
So honestly, it was one of my roommates before we had moved out here that he was already kind of messing around on there. Okay. He told me about it. And I have like a love-hate relationship with the platform, you know? Okay. It is not perfect, especially for the field of music, but they're improving a lot with that. So, when I got on it.
How so, if you don't mind asking?
So the whole idea, the whole premise of how it started, even within the name, is the idea is like Fiverr, like a $5 bill, as in, here's a place to get like cheap work. If you need like some small thing done, you need someone to proofread your writing or to edit your photo, like something really cheap or quick, like $5. And of course, there's jobs that are more than $5, but most people come there with the mindset of like, I'm just here to get like cheap work.
Cheap.
And a lot of the quality is like low and cheap. Yeah. So like
you get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly. So, coming from like, being around the industry and knowing what people can be making from the same stuff that you're making, but people only have small budgets for, right. It's like, it's just sort of takes getting used to. And basically the way it kind of had to go for me was like in the beginning doing work that was like way underpriced. But it built up that repertoire. It built up like my account, my number of reviews, all of that, to where now I can, raise my price over time. So like I am now, where everything's like comfortable, and I feel like I'm actually getting paid like what I want to be getting paid for the most part. You know what I mean?
For sure. And you have that established credibility now because you got all this, past work that you've done on the platform. I'm not gonna lie, I've used Fiverr a couple times for cover art, and I thought it was a mistake. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
Because it was cheap. You get what you paid for. I paid $20. You're gonna get a $20 cover. Like that's what happens. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And I think that's really important though, what you just said, because a lot of people expect things real quick. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it definitely doesn't feel good when you're doing shit and you feel like you're getting underpaid for it, because in a way you feel like you're getting taken advantage of. But to have that long-term, goal in mind, and to not like, let that feeling, what's the word? Break you from that.
Like hold you
path.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just like, I can't even think of the word because I'm faded right now, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like, to not let that feeling fuck that shit up is important. And so that's dope.
Right.
So can you tell me a little bit more about like what the services you're offering on Fiverr are, what you were getting paid for when you started, and like how much you really think that service is worth?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And one thing just about that too, that overall that I think is really interesting is like, I think the whole thing with there's kind of two things. Like one, I think that in this industry, which is, I feel like kind of unique to it, is that the same product, like the same service that you have can be worth two very different things depending on the circle. You know what I mean? So like the same beat, could be like $15, but if you happen to be working with like people on labels with budgets, like that same thing could be $15,000. So it's just kind of like, and I think another thing too is just kind of valuing, and as I kind of talk about the whole Fiverr thing, it kind of plays in, but just like valuing your work, is I think really important, like for your own self, like
sure.
but also just for like business wise, but yeah. So okay, so the services I offer, in the beginning, I tried to cast like a wide net. So I was offering like sound editing, where I like remove background noise from like podcasts. Like one of my first gigs I did was removing the background noise from these real estate videos. So people are talking about these houses, but like new empty houses, so they're super, reverberant. There was that. There was mixing, mastering, and then the biggest one, what grew to be the biggest one for me, was just like singing. So like singing, and then I also offer like production and songwriting. And then over time, I've sort of narrowed it down. Well, now the real three that I offer is singing, production, and songwriting. And I have found like the singing has been like the biggest one, the one I do the most.
Background
there's a
vocals,
ton of people,
stuff like that.
Yeah, background vocals, even like full vocals, or like demos. Like people, they want to pitch a song, they wrote a song, but like they're not the best singers.
But they can't sing for shit, so they need somebody to actually sing.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of those things where, there's stuff that I've done where it's like, oh man, that was dope. Like the song was cool. And there's stuff where it's like, man, this was super whack. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, it's
your job.
Yeah, it's your job. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I kind of see it, until I can get to a point where I don't have to do stuff like that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I feel like it's kind of part of the process. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of people would look at something like Fiverr and say, there's no future in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, or would look down upon that because, I have a negative, perception about Fiverr because of my experience with it. So I feel like a lot of people have had similar experiences with Fiverr. So they look at the platform and they think, well, I can't make, there's no future in this. And yet Fiverr is where you get most of your freelance gigs, is it not? Is how great of a percentage is Fiverr of your freelance situations?
It's like probably 90% right now.
Yeah.
Maybe like 80. Yeah.
And this really, is what you're doing full time. So this is 90% of your full time income is Fiverr.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, I hear what you say, because like, there's a lot of cheapness on there.
Right.
And I think that's,
but that doesn't mean that's not, because if you're somebody who's making dope content, then you're going to stand out on Fiverr. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think it's all about like, if you value stuff, like, because, oftentimes people will come to me and they'll say things. It's like, it's one of the annoying things, but it's like people will come and be like, hey, like, there's clearly, my prices are clearly on the thing. Mm-hmm. And be like, hey, I want you to sing this song. I also need you to write the song. And I have $50. And it's like, yeah, man, like, nah. Like, that can happen. Correct. That doesn't, I'm sorry if, my services don't fit in your budget. Like, but then like, they'll be like, well, other people, I bought a song last week for $30. And it's like, well, hey, man, You know, if that works for you, then keep doing you. But that doesn't work for me.
For sure. So that kind of $50. So that kind of gives us an idea, because we haven't touched on how much you usually charge for this. So like, what is your rate, and what did you start with, and what are you at now on Fiverr, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, so like in terms of vocals, right?
Well, just like anything in general. You don't have to remember exact, dollar set amount, but just a ball figure.
No, I keep a ball figure. I mean, I remember, because I think it's like kind of crazy, but when I
that shit sticks with you, right? That shit sticks with you.
Yeah, like it really does. No, when I first started, like I said, my main thing pretty much the whole time has been like mainly like the vocal part. Okay. So when I first started, I was doing like full songs, harmonies, however long the song is, whatever, for like $40.
Okay. Like that shit takes a while.
Yeah, like it really can, Sometimes, I mean, some of these songs I was doing was like these like theater type songs that were like 4 minutes long, the key changes. So it's not like I could just copy and paste things. Like some of the stuff was crazy. And like, I would like $40. And then at a certain point, I was like, I would do it in tiers. So it was like $40, but like if you want harmony, $60. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And like now, for example, I guess in contrast now, like my starting price for vocals is like $120. So that's like a lead, for like a lead vocal only is $120. So like, and then it goes up from there.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. So that's like
that's a vibe. Yeah. And how often are you getting hit up? How often are you getting hit up?
So I do about like maybe like 15 to 20 gigs a month. So like messages come in like pretty much every day. And then, that's the one thing that's, within this world of the freelance music thing, there's like, you have to handle all of there's the music part, which is the fun part, but there's also all the messaging and the people, who message you for like a week just to say they can't afford it at the end or whatever, like stuff that, can be annoying, but it's all kind of a part of it, But so about that. And then of course there's the stuff that's outside of it. But basically like a order every other day. I'm turning something in.
Very cool, bro. And so how much would you say, because a big part of this is also like how much time you're committing to it. Because right now I have a side hustle type situation, and I can justify it because it allows me to have a significant amount of free time to pursue what I'm actually trying to pursue. So you working in Fiverr is not only while you're working and you're not doing necessarily things that are, your personal music passion projects or whatever, you're still working with music every day. You're still building your skill set. You're still, bettering your, both your professional and your personal, ambition there. So how much in terms of time allotment is committed to Fiverr and committed to working and doing stuff that is for other people versus stuff that is for Matthew Clanton, the producer, the artist, the things like that?
Yeah. I think that's one of the ones that can be tough, is just like making sure you keep the balance. Because there's definitely times where like I like look up and I'm like, dang, like I didn't make a beat like just to make a beat for like a week or something. You know what I mean? Because I was just like busy with other stuff. I think for the most part it's I think it's all about balance. I think that with the amount of orders that I do, there's definitely still about free time. I think with this with this field, it's all,
I gotta cut you off real quick because my computer's about to die. Bye, baby.
Oh no, you good. You're good.
This is the first episode. I'm sorry. Oh, that was a rookie mistake right there. I'm sorry about that. Bro. So continue.
So in terms of working on stuff personally versus working on like client work, I think it's all kind of about like trying to find a balance. I think right now, I probably do the majority of the stuff I do is like work for clients or work for, gigs on Fiverr or whatever. But like you said, I think that it's, to a certain extent, it's all kind of practice, Mm-hmm. So like, things that I might be working on for Fiverr, like it's like, okay, well here I'm practicing singing or like making harmonies or arranging or writing or whatever. So it's all things I can bring back into the stuff I work on for myself. And I think, a lot of times with that, sometimes it's nice, like when you do work on stuff for yourself, it's like a nice, like breather, you know what I mean? It's just like a nice kind of refreshing to take a day or something, or I'm not working on anything today except for like stuff for myself. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Or even take a day and like be like, I'm not opening Ableton. Like I'm not working on anything today. You know what I mean? Like,
right, for sure.
I think, yeah, during this whole like, you know, pandemic thing that we're in right now, like it's been interesting because it's kind of like what's a weekend when every day is like, you know, like freelance doesn't have any hours and it doesn't have any business hours. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, whether it's Saturday or Sunday or Tuesday, no matter what time it is, I could get a message or have something to do. So I think every now and then it's just important, like, you know, if I see that there's a day where I don't have anything to do or whatever, I'll just be like, all right, today's Saturday. Mm-hmm. Like, even if Saturday is on Tuesday, like today's Saturday and I'm not going to do anything.
Right,
or
for
like
sure.
Whatever,
for
just
sure.
to kind of
that's the awesome thing about this lifestyle, you know what I mean, is if you can make music your life, is that you're able to set your own terms and be your own boss. And as long as you're able to be productive, you can do that on your own time frame.
Right.
So I want to talk to you about, what was I about to ask you? So are you interested in like starting to do work on other platforms? Have you expanded at all beyond Fiverr? Are you planning to expand it all beyond Fiverr? Like, I feel like there are other platforms like that, or is really Fiverr just where it's at for you right now?
Yeah, you know, Fiverr is currently the most popular one I'm using. I'm also on SoundBetter, and SoundBetter is like, it's better. You know, it's in the name. It's tailored more specifically to producers and songwriters and vocalists. It's specifically freelance for music, and because of that, like the people that come there, like the buyers that come there, are already in the mindset of like what kind of store they're walking into. Like, it's very much like, you know, in the real world, like if you walk into like Kohl's versus if you walk into like Nordstrom or something, you just kind of know like what you're planning on spending here. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different air.
A different understanding of things.
Exactly. Yeah. So like SoundBetter is definitely better for that reason. Their whole infrastructure of the website is like better for you. Honestly, they take less percentage. Like, because Fiverr takes percentage of that's the real thing. I should talk
That's
about
what gets you. That's what gets you.
That's what gets you. Yeah, that's what gets you.
So what about taking it off of Fiverr? Have you ever tried to do that?
Yeah, so it's one of those things. So I think there's reasons to stay, reasons to go. So like, for one, they kind of try to keep you on there. Like, it's kind of funny if you,
of course they do.
Yeah, if you're writing a message to someone and you like start putting in like, say, your personal email or something, like it brings up a little like red notification.
Stars.
Like cut it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like don't. But yeah, I think that I mean, you know, truth be told, there's definitely people that I've worked with that I've met on Fiverr that I've brought outside of Fiverr, and that's like great. But honestly, sometimes it's a good place to build that first initial connection. I think one of the things that's good about Fiverr is the way it works is that, you know, you talk to the person, and once you decide on what they're gonna buy or whatever, they pay the money up front, but then like Fiverr holds it until after the job is done.
Right.
So that's cool because, one, they know that I can't run off with their money, and sure, I know that they can't like run off with I can't sit in the files and they never pay me, kind of things. So
that's worth that percentage.
It gives you that security. Yeah, that's kind of what they get paid for, you know.
And what's that percentage?
Yeah, so that percentage is 20. And that's the biggest, how let me do that. That's the biggest downfall of Fiverr.
What?
Yeah. So they take 20%. That's the biggest downfall. You know what I'm saying? And it's not ideal. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's like
OD percentage. Right
yeah. And then compare that to SoundBetter, they only take 5. And right now, because of the whole Corona thing, SoundBetter, they aren't even taking a percentage. I think if I remember that correctly, they changed their process to like make sure you get a little money. But the thing is, SoundBetter is harder to get started on than Fiverr. And it's one of those things where, in some ways, like in an ideal world, I would be doing the kind of business I'm doing on Fiverr on SoundBetter, and maybe not even using Fiverr. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But you know, it's now that I'm there, I know what I know now. But like now that I'm there and so established, like the money comes in, it's like it's almost hard to leave now. You know what I mean? Because that's where the people find me. If I just am off Fiverr, it's like all those people searching for stuff. It's harder to put yourself in front of them. That's kind of how they earn their percentage on how they keep you on, sort of, because they build the whole system. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And I also feel like that it's a little less competitive for people in your situations on Fiverr than it is on a music specific platform, right?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
You're good at what you do, right? And there's not a lot of people on Fiverr who are creating quality content, right? So you stand out.
Yeah, I would agree.
You stand out on Fiverr, and especially in music, which is kind of a niche thing. Whereas if you go to a entirely music platform, you're competing with other people who are your skill set, and they already are probably established there. So
definitely true. And Sound Better, there's like everything from people who are still figuring it out to like people with Grammys on there. You know what I mean? Like with major cuts. And then it's true. Like you go on Fiverr and like like for example, when people come with like cheap offers and stuff, it's kind of like you get what you pay for. You listen to my samples. Listen to their samples. If that's what you want to do, that's cool. But I think, you can hear the difference.
No doubt.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to think of another question. Pretty much covers it.
Yeah, bro. 20% is crazy, I know.
Yeah, 20% is gnarly.
It's so funny.
That's
I feel like I've gotten
you've gotten
I was like seeing
rich.
numbers as yeah, bro. I think about that, like I look back at like how much I made or whatever. I'm sticking to myself like, okay,
add 20%.
Man, they've made so much money from off of me, off of everyone. I mean, that's what good for them, I guess. But it's like, dang.
So because ideally you'd be doing what you're doing on Fiverr, but not through that platform, just through your connections, right? That's like that's like the ultimate goal of what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Everything. I'm sorry, real quick. How long have you been on Fiverr for? Like, how long have you been like? When did you start Fiverr, and how long did it take for you to get to that to get that to be your full time thing?
Word. Yeah. Okay. So I joined Fiverr in June of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Like the end of June, that summer after graduation. And I would say by it's hard to say. Maybe like a year after that,
mm-hmm.
like around this time last year,
mm-hmm.
about the summer of 2019.
Yeah.
Is when I was like, okay, like cool. Like I'm generally, happy with what I'm making here.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was still working full time. That's the thing. Like I was still working like 10 to 6 or whatever, like every day, Monday through Friday, at the same time. So like I was feeling pretty comfortable, but honestly, it got to a point where, and this is kind of what made me have to value the work more, is because it got to a point where like it was hard doing both. Like, when you're at work all day, you come home, you have to do more work or whatever.
For sure.
You finally get to the weekend and you have to like do all the work that you
grinding, because you're grinding. Yeah. You're grinding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight up. That's what it is. You're just fucking grinding. Like you're working a 9 to 5 and then you're working pretty much a full-time job on Fiverr. So how long did you do that for?
So, I mean, honestly, like up until this pandemic, really, it was always sort of the side thing that I was doing. Like Fiverr was technically the side thing.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, this whole year, since December, it just has been like, it's been growing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And what was 2 things I said? So it's been growing and growing. And when the pandemic hit, it was almost like convenient that it had gotten to where it had been. So like when it hit, I was kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of fine.
Right.
Because like Fiverr happened to be getting to a nice place. And also
the timing was worked out. The timing worked out.
Yeah, the timing worked out. Yeah. And then the other thing too is like in terms of valuing the work, I think that what doing both jobs made me realize was it made me just kind of see that one solution was to charge more on Fiverr.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's why I started to raise my prices more. Where it's like, man, I'm sure there's a decent amount of people who won't be able to like pay this.
But if you charge twice as much, you only need half as many people.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, okay, cool. Like that works a lot better. And that's kind of continued to now. Like I raised my prices again recently and like, plan on continuing to until like,
for sure,
I'll be completely happy with doing it instead of like 20 gigs a month, doing 10 gigs a month that are just like priced, 50% higher than they are now or something. But yeah, so like there's that. And then the timing just kind of worked out with when the other work kind of went away, that this happened to be there in this place. And then I think continue to trying to do work outside of it is also built up. And yeah, I just think it's over time. It's like sometimes you do things for free and it helps build a connection. Like I started doing work with this dude I met way back in high school, started recording songs with him, like, for free. But his, like, the type of music he does has like this niche community that has since brought me other like collaboration projects that I've done, like, not for free. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so, what are your, you're talking about raising your prices so you can get, half as much work you're still making, but you're charging twice as much. You're essentially making the same, but you've freed up all that time. And the fact that you've been able to, in a year, pretty much turn Fiverr into a full-time gig. And if you continue to increase your price, you're just going to have more free time to pursue the other shit that you're working on, which is like stuff like the song that you just put out, Good Morning. So talk to me a little bit more about like your personal shit. What do you got going on, like on the personal side of things? What are your ambitions as a personal artist, personal producer? And just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I've been, I put out an EP a while back, like right after I graduated.
Right. I remember.
College. And since then, like with everyone, with any art, like, I've improved, I've learned more, like my tastes have changed, like, et cetera, et cetera. And so over the time, I've just been working on new stuff. And I think, a part of it, like you said, like freeing up that free time is one, to give me more time to explore, explore those new songs I'm trying to work on for me, just on the artist side. But also just to explore them to, whether that to be to pitch to other artists or to like, write with other artists. Because part of it for me is also just kind of building repertoire of just like, who I am. Like, here's stuff I've done. Here's songs I put out. Like, here's kind of what I sound like, you know what I mean? Just so I can then go and make new stuff with more people. And then on top of that, I think doing some of the stuff like I'm doing on Fiverr on just like a larger scale, like going after different opportunities, whether it be like in like the sync world or like whatever it may be, just kind of bring up that time to, not spend as much time working just on small random gigs,
For sure.
Yeah.
So what's your ultimate goal? Like, what's your ultimate goal? Like when you see yourself, like what's your make it? You know what I'm saying? Because this is the figuring your shit out. We're trying to figure out how to make it. And making it can be anything. For me right now, making it is just being able to wake up and make beats all day and not have to worry about, paying rent. You know what I'm saying? So what is making it for you right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in a similar way, I think what would really be like the dopest position would be to be in a place where like I can make enough off of residuals, make enough off of like royalties from past songs, or like anything where I'm not actively, working on any kind of passive income, where that can cover like my living expenses. That would be like the making it for me. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So then everything I do could just be for like the fun of it, or for the art of it, or for the, for whatever. Like I don't have to spend time, doing anything I don't want to do. Just to like pay, the bill, just to live life.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a solid goal. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's just about having your time and being able to spend your time how you want to spend your time.
Yeah, for real. Definitely.
I also wanted to ask you about like your working with artists, because I've seen you on Instagram, and I also wanted to talk to you about, because I know you've done some stuff through Instagram as well, about like working with artists and things like that. So can we talk a little bit about that? I meant to ask you that earlier, but
yeah,
totally forgot. So what are you doing with these artists? You're recording them, you're helping them with, singing. What exactly are you doing? And because that's not Fiverr, that's separate. That's a separate thing.
Yeah, that's separate. Yeah. So kind of like I said, like with the whole how I came up, a lot of it was, it was the singing and then the recording. So like as I guess I see myself as like both the singer, the songwriter, the producer, but also like the engineer. and like the kind of vocal producer too. So a lot of that is, you know, artists coming and we're recording their songs, or like I'm helping them write their songs, helping them write songs and then recording them, or like vocal producing or mixing that. And then also, I guess not also, but yeah, yeah, basically that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So how many artists are you working with right now? And like, you know, and you're just using your home studio, like this setup you got right now as your vocal setup or as your recording setup?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically right now, not a lot, like 3. 2 of them, well, everything right now, of course, is, you know, shut down. But as right before this was happening, it was about 3 I was seeing, like, you know, regularly in person. And then another I've been working with remotely, actually, out of Texas. And then, about 3, 3 to 4. And
mostly
it varies. Then, of course, there's, pop, like R&B.
Okay.
And a rapper, yeah.
Okay, very cool. And do you enjoy that, or do you consider that work like it's Fiverr work as well? Or do you enjoy working with an artist in person more than you do kind of just having somebody through a screen hitting you up like that? Is it more rewarding to you, like, at all?
Yeah, you know, I think there's benefits to both sides. Like, I very much enjoy, like, the working with the artist. Like, you know, from the singing perspective, I like kind of coaching people through what they're singing and, like, trying different things, help, like, try this harmony, try that harmony, whatever. But there's also, like, you know, I think a lot of producers are, like, introverted, or like can be introverted, you know? So, like, I don't really think of myself as an introvert per se, but, like, I definitely value when I could just talk to nobody and, like, just sit in my room alone and like still be having fun, making money, whatever, you know?
No doubt. Okay, very cool. Word. Well, there's a lot of gems in there, no doubt. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like, take every part that I like and, like, just maybe do, like, a section or something on each point. Because there's a lot of shit in there, like, looking at the potential for a platform that maybe everybody else doesn't necessarily see as an option, like being creative like that, like looking at your long-term goals and dealing with shit that you don't want to fucking deal with, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, taking advantage of timing with, like, the quarantine situation, like, all this shit. There's, like, a lot of, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you're working with music to, like, make a career. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that within itself is awesome. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I think like just like the main overarching thing with, like, just working in music is just really looking, kind of like you said, there's so much in between. You know, there's so much in between, like, doing nothing and being, like, a Grammy-winning artist producer. There's like everything in between, and I think that a lot of people, you know, disregard that. You know what I'm saying? Or they're like, if my song isn't doing these kind of streams, or if I'm not working with these kinds of people, then I'm not doing anything. But, like, there's a lot in the middle, and I think it's all about, you know, it's all about the circle that you're in. And I also think that a lot of people try to just somehow latch on to the top circle, when I think the best way to do it is to really strengthen the circle around you
with your peers.
So your peers become that top circle. You know what I mean? That's how the top circle got to where they are. So,
exactly. You know, I think I agree, like, completely. Like, my goal right now is to just have, like, multiple different, like, ways of just making a little bit of money here and there. Like, I'm trying to do a podcast. I got another podcast going. I'm doing a vlog now and stuff. I want to sell beats online. Like, I want to rent out studio time, stuff like that. So it's like, that's my goal, is just to, like, slowly start to build, like, making money in some way, shape, or form, or getting traction in, like, multiple different ways, so that you know, I got different shit going on. You know what I mean? And I got, like, you know, and it's all shit that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's all about the multiple streams of income. You know, just having different. Like a bunch of drops in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, homie. This was a fucking dope podcast. I think this was a good first episode. So thank you for coming on, man. This was super fun.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me. This is cool.